Movies are one of the principal influencers in popular culture. They really help to shape our ideas about our past and even our future. Unfortunately, however, at times, these films can skew proper historical perspectives, especially when it comes to African history. As more films about Africa are seemingly inevitable, I'm really anxious to see how they will portray the complex history of the Dahomey Kingdom and the Dahomey Amazons. What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. On Patreon, you can find more in-depth courses on African history. And with word from my sponsors, there's a new social media platform dedicated to educating and uplifting our people. No longer do we have to be censored for speaking our truth. OBT Social is Black owned and operated, and a place where you can post your businesses and even monetize your content. You can visit the website at obtsocial.com. Links to everything in the description box below. If you guys have been following me for a while now, you know that I've been open and honest about my feelings toward the history of Dahomey. Reading the history of this African kingdom for me has always been difficult. Despite this, I'm absolutely captivated by this history. The Kingdom of Dahomey trained and recruited entire contingents of female warriors. This no doubt made them not only one of the most unique nations in Africa, but the world. It certainly solidifies them in the history books. Given this unique history, it's no wonder that Hollywood decided to make a film about them called The Woman King. The exceptionality of an all-female contingent definitely warrants a film, and given the real history of these female warriors, I'm very intrigued as to how they will be portrayed. Some of the confirmed actors in the film will be Viola Davis and Lashana Lynch. According to IMDb, The Woman King will be a historical epic inspired by the true events that happened in the Kingdom of Dahomey, one of the most powerful states of Africa in the 18th and 19th centuries. Women warriors in Africa are not new. Dahomey didn't invent the idea of women fighting in battle. One of the first mentions of women participating in battle on the African continent was in ancient Kush, Queen Amanirenas perhaps being the most popular. She was even said to have had a scarred eye, alluding to her military exploits. I will say, however, that entire female contingents were rare in Africa. Even accounts in which we do hear about female warriors, they're usually queens who faced off with the enemy. The only event that points to an all-female contingent before the 18th century are reports of African women participating in the siege of Valencia, according to the Primera Chronica, which is the first extended general history of Spain. The history tells us that at the end of 3 days after the Cid died, King Bucar arrived from Tunis and disembarked at the port of Valencia with an extraordinarily large force of 36 Moorish kings, and he brought with him a black Moorish woman who had 300 black Moorish women with her, and all of them had their heads shaved, apart from a tuft which each of them had on the top of her head. This was because they came as if on a pilgrimage and to seek pardon. They were well armed with cuirasses and with Turkish bows. According to Abulnafarix, who was the one who transcribed this Historia in Arabic, there were at least 15,000 tents, and King Bucar ordered that black Moorish woman to station herself nearest the town with all her company. Even though this is documented, most scholars are very skeptical and dismiss it as legend. And so, given the fact that most scholars have little confidence in the existence of African women participating in the invasion of Spain, the Dahomey Amazons remain the most unique aspect of African military history. Regardless, the Dahomey Amazons simply continued the ancient tradition of women warriors on the African continent. According to reports, the Woman King will be based on a Dahomey Amazon named Naniska and her daughter Nawi. The story will tell how they, and I quote, together fought enemies who violated their honor, enslaved their people, and threatened to destroy everything they've lived for. If this film does continue in development, I'm really looking forward to how they will tell this story and the story of the Amazons in general. But I'd like to share some critical thoughts concerning my expectations. To begin, I have no issues with films based on history romanticizing certain aspects, but I do hope certain perspectives are maintained. On a lighter note, I'm hoping that no mention of the word Amazon reaches the film, and they stick with how the Dahomeans themselves referred to the so-called Amazons. The kingdom of Dahomey more frequently called their women warriors the Mino. I think it'll be cool if the film touches on how the Mino came to be, or at least highlight one of the theories in the film. According to one theory, the Mino originated with a female huntress group called Gebeto, and they were apparently tasked with hunting elephants. Constant attacks from their Yoruba neighbors formed the state of Dahomey into a military powerhouse in order to protect themselves from carnage or enslavement. Because of these attacks, the lack of manpower was possibly the underbelly of the Mino's evolution from huntress to bodyguards to full-fledged warrior contingents. And so, by whatever combination of issues or demands, the Mino were born. Upon their ascension, they participated in the conquering of other territories and the expansion of the kingdom. According to the film, Viola Davis will be playing the general of the Mino, and most certainly female generals in Dahomey are an historical reality. Several hundreds are trained to the use of arms under a female general and subordinate officers appointed by the king. These warriors are regularly exercised and go through their evolutions with as much expertness as the male soldiers. Now, even though Naniska and Nawi are real historical members of the Mino, it seems that they're just names being used in the film and not necessarily an indication that their real stories are going to be told. From what I've been reading so far about the film, I only have two concerns. I'm hoping they don't give the impression that Dahomey was just a nation of female warriors, because that would definitely be false. I don't think that would be a fair use of a creative license, if you will. The existence of female warriors just overshadowed the clear presence of male warriors for obvious reasons. Also, there were some official comments made by one of the producers of the film concerning the nature of the story. The Woman King will tell one of history's greatest forgotten stories from the real world in which we live, where an army of African warrior women staved off slavery, colonialism, and intertribal warfare to unify a nation. As I said, the history of Dahomey is complex. In many ways, the kingdom of Dahomey were victims of slavery and interethnic warfare, but they were equally perpetrators. I think that's important to keep in mind. It's okay to have that dual reality. It's sometimes difficult to assign things morally to historical events. We may not fully understand the context of Ms. Schulman's statement until later, but I'm hoping the complexity of Dahomey is understood and reflected on screen. The truth is, the Mino were loyal to their king and the goals of the Dahomey nation. They expressed that loyalty in wonder and splendor with great skill and vigor. Whether the goals of the nation were good or bad, they were going to execute them as flawlessly as they could. In truth, this is the plight of any warrior. I think the Mino should be remembered for that. They should be remembered for being great warriors and championed because of their love for their people and their willingness to surrender their lives for the nation. That being said, I have no idea how the story of the Woman King will be executed, but I think as a whole, popular culture may be heading in the right direction when it comes to putting more focus on African history. Well, I'm all out, guys. I'm really looking forward to your thoughts on this film and what your expectations are. And if you like these videos or want to help in its continued development, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.